Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, as you can see, we are in our miniature kitchen again because I have a few more Make It Mini surprise capsules to open. This time, I not only have another Make It Mini appliance capsule, but also a Miniverse Make It Mini cafe, and our very first mini brands create. And you can definitely call me a bit of a fake fan because it wasn't until after my last video that I realized mini brands and Miniverse are different things. Definitely felt pretty stupid after that. But Mini Brands is made by Zuru and Miniverse is made by MGA. So hopefully by having both in this video, I can redeem myself and also compare and contrast a little bit and see which type of miniature resin creation capsules I like better. So, since last time it was all about the Miniverse, this time I'm going to start with the Mini Brands capsule. So, the particular variant of Create capsule that we have today is the one that was made in collaboration with MasterChef. And if you aren't in the know, the UK version of MasterChef is currently experiencing some controversy and a lot of people are boycotting the current season. So I think let's just pretend that this is specifically talking about the American MasterChef. We won't talk about Greg Wallace. Wow, it's pretty hefty weight there. So the little paper bags are pretty much the same as with the Miniverse ones, but this is definitely different. Oh, it's the little UV light. I forgot that Mini Brands comes with these. Okay, this is shaped like a little chef's hat. That's very adorable. And hopefully we can use the UV light there to help cure the resin. We've got quite a few bags here, so I'm just gonna pick one at random. Okay, we have a little cake slice and some little sliced almonds. Then I guess these two pieces fit together. There we go, to make a little cake stand. Definitely a lot more proportional than the one we got with the MGA ball last time. Although this serving dish is quite large in comparison. Oops. Oh, okay, here's the resin. Apricot jam. Cute. And a little tin of apricot halves, if you can see those. Cute. Okay, so just like the whipped cream and stuff that we got with the MGA ones, we've got some little kind of rubbery apricot halves. I still don't really know what we are getting. What's this? Just like a little placemat to put it on, maybe? But we do have some instructions and the collector's guide. Oh, these all look really good. Ah, that might be what we have. An almond and apricot cheesecake. Oh, okay, and on the back it does say what we have. And it gives us some nice visual instructions. And then I can just open the last bag. And we have our cheesecake in a box, as well as a little fork and some tongs. Let's open up our cheesecake box. Oh, cute. So it's like a baked cheesecake, I guess, like more of a New York cheesecake. And again, I like that we can keep this packaging as a separate mini. So the instructions say that I'm supposed to put 2/3 of the almonds on before adding the resin, which seems slightly counterintuitive because I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to see of that in the final product, but I shall trust them and add some of these tiny, tiny almonds. It does kind of look slightly reminiscent of like a sesame seed burger bun right now. I'm not sure if that's 2/3 or not, but we're going to leave it there because they look pretty evenly spaced. And then it says to add the resin. So I'm going to take the lid off our apricot jam here. And then screw on the little nozzle that came with it. And obviously there are a lot of disclaimers about UV resin. It can be quite dangerous if not handled properly, and whereas last time I just tried very hard not to get any of it on my hands, this time I am going to put on a glove just to give myself a little bit of extra peace of mind. I'm just going to do one hand because honestly gloves are kind of a sensory ick for me, but at least the hand holding the resin is protected. And then according to the instructions I just squeeze it on top of the almonds. It definitely needs spreading out a little bit more than the instructions imply, which is kind of gonna mess up my almond placement. However, you can see the almonds through the glaze a lot more than I was expecting, which is nice. Still not quite beating the hamburger bun allegations yet, but luckily it is time to add the sliced apricots on top. So from the picture on the guide, it looks like we add the smaller halves all the way around. The smaller pieces, I should say, not halves. I do think these little tongs are a bit more flimsy than the ones in the Miniverse capsules, which can make them a little bit harder to control, I think. I haven't used all of the smaller apricot pieces, but I do think I like the placement as it is, so I'm going to stop there. But now I can add the halves into the center. In the picture, it has 2 of the halves in the center. However, I couldn't find a way to fit them both on and make it look good, so I've just gone with one of them. The next step, it says, is to add some more resin on the top, but it isn't really coming out of the nozzle very well, so I'm going to take the top off and see if that helps at all. There we go, it's coming out now. I think maybe it might be a good idea to cure that first layer of resin before spreading around the second one, because it is a little bit difficult not to accidentally shift my little apricot pieces. But once the rest of my jam is all spread out, I'm just going to sprinkle on some more almonds. And then we can go ahead and cure it with our little UV light chef's hat. And now we have a cute little apricot almond cheesecake for our dolls. Next up, I'm going to be working on the Make It Mini Cafe ball, and this one is from Series 4. And once again, we have a different little warning instructional pamphlet for each language, as well as our little placemat, which unfortunately is kind of bent. And then we have our collector's guide, which also has some good visual instructions on the back. Judging by what I can see, it looks like we may have got the watermelon sorbet. So I'll go ahead and open the other little packets. Oh, cute. Okay, we have coconut cream first of all. Oh, it's the resin. Then it looks like we have a little bowl. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I'm kind of hoping I could take the finished craft out of the bowl because that would just be so cute to have like on display on its own. Then, what's this? Oh, nice. Okay, are those like mint leaves? Once again, loving the little kind of, this isn't Tupperware, but just the like plastic container is so realistic. And then finally, we've got our utensils. The usual suspects, a little spoon and the little kind of tweezers. And finally, there is this cute little spoon that matches the watermelon bowl, which I can't help thinking would make a really nice salad dish. And this time it has occurred to me that it would be best to work on a little table. This one is 1/12 scale and pretty badly painted, but it's the best I can do for now. And I'll just set my somewhat bent placemat on top. So I'm looking at the little watermelon and it looks like the center of it is made from like kinetic sand and it's wrapped in kind of like saran wrap, but it does have a little serrated edge here. And looking at the instructions, it looks like we are meant to pour the kinetic sand out into the little watermelon bowl and then add the resin into there and mix it up. So here goes. Kinetic sand is so fun. There's surprisingly quite a lot in here. Wow. It does look as though some of the paint is coming off the inside of my watermelon. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I was a little bit too rough with the spoon. We'll set that aside for the moment. That kinetic sand has like completely filled the bowl, so I'm slightly concerned I'm not gonna have enough room for the resin without getting it everywhere. So the glove is making its return. Then it looks like I just pour it in and I'm going to use the spoon to kind of help it out. In fact, it seems to be sort of more of a 2-spoon job. And in the picture, it does look like I'm supposed to add all of the resin, but I'm just going to start off small and then add more as we go. This particular kinetic sand is like a little bit harder to stir than usual, and this spoon keeps bending. I've got a bit more room in the bowl now, so I can add some more of the resin. Okay, now that that is all mixed, I need to spoon it back into the empty melon rind. I do kind of think that if I was doing this again, I might forego the resin because kinetic sand does already have that sort of sorbet-ish look to it. And if you did want it to be a bit more kind of wet, you could probably achieve this same thing just by adding some kind of white glue. I guess unless you wanted it to dry pretty solid, which I'm assuming this will do. I also feel like doing this with glue instead of resin might make the messiness of this one feel a bit more fun because obviously having resin get everywhere is a bit more nerve-wracking than if it was just like PVA glue or something. Once we have a nice little swirl like they did in the picture, it looks like we need to cut some leaves off those little mint stalks. And then I guess we just use our little tweezers to add them on top. And I'm also going to add the little silver spoon into the side, just because I have a few of those now and I don't mind curing it inside there. I'm wondering if it would be silly to try and like drizzle a little bit of that remaining resin over the top, or if that would just be kind of pushing my luck. Okay, I did end up adding some, and I think it maybe looks a little bit pathetic, but we're gonna go ahead and cure this now anyway. And now we have a finished watermelon sorbet for the dolls, and I will admit I was a little bit on the fence about this one while I was making it, but now seeing the finished product, I am pretty happy with it. I even like the little coconut cream kind of drizzle I added. So yeah, pleasantly surprised. Now we are on to our final ball, and we have another one of the Miniverse appliances. Last time I opened one of these, I got the coffee maker. And one of you let me know down in the comments that actually you can tell which one you're going to get based on the picture on the packaging, which is very useful to know. So apparently the only surprise here will be the colour of, I guess this is like a fizzy drink machine / soda fountain type thing. And I don't think this will be super useful in like a domestic kitchen setup. However, I would like to make a mini cafe or restaurant at some point, so I think I could definitely use it in there. And I am curious to see which colour we're going to get, so let's open this up. And it looks like we got the blue one, or green one, maybe I should say. Oh, and I guess the flavour of drink is different, because the red one had, I think it said lemon lime on the front. There does look to be a little bit of assembly required. There we go. And I'm going to open up the collector's guide. I'm going to need scissors for this. I forgot that was a thing last time. Okay, so it looks like we'll be following this diagram. And just like with the espresso machine, I'll just have to put the upended resin bottle into the top of the appliance. And then on the other side, there must be some ice in one of these little packets. It looks like this one must have the little cups. So first we've got a little tray thing for them, and the lids, cups, and also it looks like 2 little straws. That's very cute. I do definitely love the little Miniverse details like this. I guess that means this is the resin and ice. There's our resin, and we've got a cute little bag of ice, and also these 2 little like coasters. So it looks as though I'm meant to do the ice first. Oh, it even came with like a little plastic clip on the top. I do kind of feel as though it might be a little bit more reliable to just put the ice cubes into the bottom of our cups. However, for the sake of the gimmick, I am going to pour them into the machine. And then it looks like there's a button underneath that you press cup against to release the ice. So I'll do that. It's a little bit hard to get out. Is that enough ice? I think so. And then we take the lid off our resin, put it upside down in the other side of our soda machine, and put the lid on. If it will stay on, this one's a bit more reluctant to. There we go. I think. Nope, Okay, never mind. I know with the espresso machine that the resin took quite a long time to drip out of the container, so I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to drip out of the bottle inside. So then when I come to press the little cup against the button, it should start dripping right out. I'm not quite sure that this is filled up enough, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do the second one, just so that I know I definitely have enough resin for both. I've added a bit of extra ice this time as well. Okay, now that I know I definitely have enough resin to do both, I'm going to top up the first one. Now I'm gonna pop my lids on and add our straws. I might need... Oh no, I thought I might need the scissors again, but I think we're all good. And now our drinks are ready to be cured. I'm going to use a UV lamp for these ones, just because there's quite a lot of resin to be cured in there. And I think we may be waiting forever if I just leave it out in the sun. And there are our finished drinks. I definitely prefer the one that I added a bit more ice to, but I still think that they are both very cute regardless. Okay, so now that I am finished with all three capsules, I'm just going to quickly compare some pros and cons between them. So to start off with, I do think that the Zuru packaging and accessories might be a little bit more to scale than the MGA ones, and they do definitely kind of win in terms of realism in that aspect as well. However, the art style for the MGA ones is very cute, so it does definitely have that going for it. It's a very nice cartoony kind of vibe, if that's what you're going for. So I wouldn't say either of them are like better or worse, it's just a case of like personal preference, and I personally tend to go a little bit more for realism. I think when we are comparing the actual resin miniatures themselves, it's probably the fairest to compare the cheesecake to the watermelon bowl, because the appliance and stuff is like a whole other gimmick in itself. But in terms of the final little product here, I think they are equally realistic. I like them both just as much, I think. The mint leaves being a little bit chunky might tip the realism slightly more in favour of the mini brands. But again, that's not a huge deal. I definitely found the cheesecake a lot easier to make. It's a bit more of like an intricate finished product. However, it was very simple to put together, and I do think the resin was used well because this kind of high gloss transparent colour is quite hard to achieve with anything else, especially if you want it to be permanent. Whereas, as I mentioned before, this could definitely be made minus the resin. Of course, it has dried very nice and solid, so that's, you know, it's going to make it a bit easier to store and probably help with the longevity of the mini. However, I do think just because I am a bit paranoid about using resin, especially like if you were making it with kids, the resin part of this one seemed sort of an unnecessary, I don't want to say risk exactly, but it just seems like an unnecessary concern when you could just make this quite easily with some other medium. I also think the MGA resin has a bit of a stronger smell to it, although that might just be my like autistic hypersensitivity to smells. However, it was really nice to kind of have like the kinetic sand element, and you are quite literally making the main component of it. it, whereas this, everything comes pre-made, which is why it's so much simpler. Although that could be a little bit less fun, maybe, if you're mainly buying them for like the experience of putting the little things together. I do also really like the design of this little extra bowl that came with the Miniverse one. Obviously, this little cake stand can be reused too. However, it is just, it's a lot more plain. Although, I guess that does make it more versatile. I don't know, it's all just a matter of taste at the end of the day. I feel as though the pros and cons lists that I've got for these guys are fairly even. They both definitely have their perks and downsides. Anyway, I hope this has been a useful little review, and I hope you enjoyed watching me make today's tiny little minis. If you did, I would very much appreciate a like and maybe even a subscribe if you are in the market for some miniature making. And I'll see you next time. Bye!